I got a really good video for you today regarding Genesis 2. A lot of people think that Genesis 2 is a continuation or the same event as Genesis 1. But when you read closely, you can tell that Genesis 2 is a different story. Genesis 1, we know that they created man in the likeness and image of the Elohim, meaning for dominion, and rulership. So their creation was exactly like them, and they were for rulership. That was in Genesis 1. But look what it says in Genesis 2. Okay. Now, they're telling you that there was not a man to till the ground. Okay. So this Genesis 2 was regarding a man that to till the ground. I'm going to show you what that means. You'll be surprised. Okay, this is not saying there wasn't a man in existence, or there wasn't a man already here. They're telling you there just wasn't a man to till the ground. And that's kind of, people just gloss over this. Well, what does this really mean, till the ground? So I'm going to show you what this word till means. And it's really easy to do. If you click on the Hebrew and you go back to that verse, which is 2:5, it's right here. And there was not a man right here to cultivate the ground. Well, they use the word cultivate, and you say, okay, well, that's what it means. But look what the word means. It means to keep in bondage. Look at this. To keep in bondage, to be a bondman. Okay. To enslave. Look at to enslave. Okay. So when you're looking for a man that you can enslave, okay, a servant, so to speak, right here, servant, and they're going to perform and they're going to do work, okay, but you're going to enslave this man. That's your goal for this man, is to enslave him. So Genesis 2 is not talking about the same thing. What's on the docket is to enslave a type of man to till the ground. Well, who's going to volunteer to till the ground? Like if you're a ruler and you're ruling, are you going to just say, yeah, okay, I want to be enslaved? No, you're not. They're going to have to engineer a man to be a slave. And that's exactly what they did. And this Genesis 2, it says here that these are the generations of the heavens and the earth when they were created. Now look at the play on the word created. That was back in Genesis 1 when they created or procreated in their likeness and image, and they put male and female to be rulers. Okay, they don't work. Rulers don't work, and have the people in dominion. They don't work. So when they're here, generations have gone by. So the earth, see right here, these are the generations. Right here, these are the generations. In other words, generations have been going by and by, and they said, you know what? We need a man. There was not a man to till the soil. So we have this one called the Lord God. Now the Lord God, this Lord is Yahweh. Okay, he's the one in power. Yeah, he's from the original creation because it still has the word God, which is Elohim here. But now they got another name, which is called Lord. So he's the ruler, or the guy Yahweh, the God Yahweh. But these are just men because the ones in their likeness and image, they were a man also in Genesis, a ruling man. So this is none other than a ruling man. And if you look at the Lord God, it says he's a man of war, and and Yahweh is his name. But so what they did, they actually made a man to till the ground, and this man, he's a lower man. He's a downgraded man because they're not going to get a ruling man. You have to sort of engineer a man that is a little more slower, retarded, still looks like a man, and he still have attributes of a man, but you're going to mix them with DNA from another kind of creature, or you're going to tamper with DNA. But it doesn't say. All it says here, when they said that the man they wanted us to enslave a man, to have a man that they can enslave, it says here it gets kind of hard to read. It says here, but there went a mist from the earth and watered the whole face of the ground. Now you can look this up in the Hebrew and try to track these words, but when you're this mist is higher heavenly beings. Heavenly, in other words, when you say the word heaven, it's up from a higher place. So this, when they said there went a mist from the earth, when you look in the book of Enoch, the mists were higher beings. So, and it's a covered thing. It's a thing that is not, you're not going to be able to understand. They don't want you to understand. So when there's a mist from the earth, in other words, they're going to be a veil on it. They're right here. They're telling you they did it. They're not telling you. Okay. But he does say that the Lord, right here, the Lord, which is Yahweh, God formed. Now look at the play on the word, form man. Okay. Form. This is not the same as this word created back in Genesis 1 when they were created or procreated in their image. So this is a different word. Form means you can form a man to do anything. You can form him any way you deem possible. You could take, a man and mix him with I'm just throwing this out there, like an ape. You could ape, or could they possibly get a downgraded man from something like that, or could they make somebody that has a slower brain or a different kind of appearance? They can, tamper with this man any way they want. So they formed this man to enslave him with the sole purpose of enslaving him. Okay, and he took him of the dust of the ground. Now, if you look at the saying of the dust of the ground, you can go and look at what this means. But when you got the sands of the sea, Israel was will be as the dust of the ground. When they in the Bible, it tells you Israel will be as the dust of the ground. So it's a multitude of people. Or when they say you'll be like the sands of the sea, that's another multitude, but that's a higher level of people. So they kind of gauge what kind of comparisons they want. So for a man of dust of ground, or everything that was available to them of the dust of the ground. In other words, whatever was available, and that's how they made this man. Now they make it really nice here, and they say and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. I mean, they look at it like, oh wow, that is really, man became a living soul. Like that is really, a special story. Okay, but who came up with this living soul here, and why? When man becomes, man became a living soul. So this one that was made to enslave, now they know man has become a living soul. But this living soul, that's not what this should be here. Okay. If you look at this book, and you look at all these words here on this chapter 2 here, you got living. I'm going to single out one of these words, this one particular word. Everything I got highlighted here is the same Hebrew word. Same Hebrew word. So this living soul, if you go into Hebrew and you look in Hebrew, this living soul, it also can mean, it can mean beastly soul, or better yet, beastly creature. Because this word here, if you look at this other word, if you look at this other word, this word creature and soul, this is the same Hebrew word. See that? So when you go into the Hebrew and you try to find out, well, what is this living soul? What does this living soul mean? Then we can find out, because we can actually find out if we go in there and look. And I'll show it to you real quick. I want to show you real quick what this means, because you really need to know this, because if you don't know this, and the man became a being living. See, now it's being living. So this being living. So let's look at what the Hebrew word of living means. See, it means beast. That's why everywhere you go, the beast. See, the beast. It means beast. So what fits better? What fits better? Now, when you look at this word can be living or it could mean beast, just like I said. And this other one, being, which is soul. That's the other one that they want to tell you that it can mean soul, soul, like right here, soul. But if you look at it, it means creature. Also, it means creature. That's why those two Hebrew words. Now, if you look at these words, remember 24:16 and 53:15. This is became in the King James version. It says living soul. But remember those. Now let's go back into the King James and let's look at the same words right here. Now in this chapter, which is 19. Now watch this. See this living creature right here? See this living creature? Let's go into the Hebrew. Very important. I know you got to follow me here. It means everything. It means everything because these words are up to the translator. Creature. Now here's the word 53:15 and 24:16. Same words, but now it's creature. It's not soul. This one's living. It's still using the word living, but now you look at this 24:16 living. But if you go right up here, 24:16, what does it mean? Beast. 24, same word, beast. Now, if you ask the question why, who calls the shots on what this is supposed to mean? Like when they translate this, they say it's up to the translator, and he makes his best determination of what it should be. But what I'm telling you is when they're making a man for slavery, okay, and they're going to form this man, okay, this man's going to become a beastly creature is what fits better here because now he's more of a beastly creature that they can use and manipulate for service work. Okay, just like God formed man out of the dust of the ground. Now, if you look at it here, and out of the ground, same thing. The Lord God formed every beast of the field. Okay, so he formed same thing up here, same kind of wording. Man formed from the dust of the ground, and instead of being this beastly creature, now there's this guy. Now they're telling you it's a beast, or you could use the word living here. You see that? The word living or beast, but the translators put the other word here, beast. Okay, and just like this one, you can have beastly creature, every beastly creature, but for some reason they like the word beast here, but when they go ahead to name them, they want to call them living now. See? So they go back and forth. There's another one. Every beast of the field. It's not living of the field. And you say, well, these are just animals. Well, these are animals. But, that's not true. Because when he formed every beast of the field, these are men. These are men because the biggest reason is they talk. They talk. We know they talk. And if you look at the very next verse, now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. Same thing, but they're calling the serpent. Now you could think, is that a beast? Is that a beast of a field, a serpent? No, that's not a beast. But if you think it's a snake, people think, oh, that's a snake. But no, that's really not a snake. You know why? Because the snake, then he starts to talk, and he said unto the woman, this beast speaks. I mean, this serpent, which is the beast of the field, speaks, and he's communicating. So these are words that they use because after all, they think that we are, to them, we're beasts. You know what I mean? We're not. There's to probably our creator, we're just basically a beast. And so the beast of the field. So this is the beast of the field from the Lord God. So, and they are also in the garden. So you go back to Genesis 2. So these are other men. And what I'm trying to tell you, it's not, and it's not good for man to be alone. They're not going to start making, parakeets and, beavers and, and owls and things for man. No, he's going to make, they're making a, help me for him. You know what I mean? So it's a help someone that is going to be like them. And then they made them the exact same way. Now this time they formed every beast of the field. That's why this is not translated correctly, because this first beast of the field right here, this was supposed to be a beast creature, but they did not want to put that there. They put the living soul to try to think that this is the first man. I don't know what they were trying to think here, but this is the one they're going to enslave, and he has a purpose. So this Genesis 2 is not a continuation of Genesis 1. And there's other words for beast that they can use. There's other words like this word here, this cattle. Now, when you look at the word cattle, now that you can't equate that. That is a different. That's a behemoth name. That is a real. So he not only did he name some animals, but he did not. This. So if they wanted to say that these were these type of animals, they would call them that, but they did not. There's other words for beasts too, but this is a particular word that translates from beast to living, and it's very, very confusing when you look at this. And like I said, they leave it up to the translator, so man can translate wrong. And these books, they're coming more to light, to alive in the end times, and people, they can actually die. We have all this technology at our fingertips. We can go into the Hebrew, we can back check, and we can look with these computers, and knowledge is really increasing, because we can do. We don't have to thumb through books. We can look at the screen, and and if you've got a mind that can put things together, you can actually start to realize that what they were saying here is they're looking for a man now to till the ground, because the Genesis 1 man, when this now, so God created man in his own image. In his image of God, he created him, male and female, right away. See, and then he said, "Be fruitful and multiply." There was no restrictions on it. Replenish the earth and subdue it. Look, and have dominion over everything. So this is not the servant man, okay? Not the servant man. And the earth was going through generations and generations and generations. Now, if you look at the Sumerian text, there's a similar story about how they're creating the Gigi, they call them, and the toil was too great for them in the Sumerian text. Same thing, the toil was too great for them, so they decided to make a servant, a slave man, and they did. And when they talk about one breeding with the other in Genesis 6, it's not. These are the two different. These are the types of men that crossbreed with each other, because this man right here, he was given restrictions. The tree of he told you is good and evil. He says here, and he made these things, but he told, see, this tree of knowledge of good and evil. He told this man not to eat of this tree. So because it says in these chapters, they can actually, if they started eating from that, they might be able to become like them. So they had to tread on, they had to really watch this man, and keep things from him, and just keep his eye on just being a servant and nothing else. And this is just a little snippet of Genesis 2. When people tell you that, Genesis 2 is the same story as Genesis 1, you can make your own decisions about that. But I'm telling you right here that now this story is totally different than the story in Genesis 1. It's different. So thanks for watching. If you liked the video, like and subscribe. I'm going to make more. Thanks. Bye.